Hello again, friends, and you are our friends, and welcome back to this evening's Talking Town, the Ipswich Town podcast that puts you firmly in control. It's your platform, it's your podcast, of every definition of the word, yours. It really is, although I believe that's now been taken. I'm not quite sure. I am, of course, joined by the two men that you can see on your screen. Before we start, guys, if you would like to be involved, as you will see running across the bottom of the screen, there are some instructions. You can be involved a manner of different ways. You can be via the chat. As you can see, we've already got a number of people in the chat there. Good evening, Mr. Nick Muller. Thank you for joining us. And we've got Zach Ward, Steve Mays, all comments coming right up. Get those chats flying. Get your opinions heard. This really is the podcast for you. And of course, you can appear on the show either via visual or by audio. It doesn't matter. Not everyone is comfortable in front of a camera. Look at poor Rich. And if Cruncher does scare you guys, okay, I can just do this. Bye, Rich. And he can disappear quite like that. And then I can bring him back. So if he does scare you, because he is a cruncher, he is the number 6 of the podcast, I can easily get rid of him. So, Rich, I'll come to you first. How are you this evening?
I'm good. That's a bit harsh, wasn't it? So you
I see because I see you on Twitter, Rich. I see you go into people. It's why you're the cruncher, and it's not always pretty.
The bark's worse than my bite, isn't it? Really? Come on.
Well, I can also mute you as well. It's great fun. There you go. Now you're muted as well. So behave yourself tonight. All the rules will apply. Mr. Zachary Ward, good evening, Zach. Thank you for joining us. We will come to that very shortly. Steve Mays, thank you. Matt, I will come to you now. How are you, Matt?
I'm great, thanks. I've spent a couple of days on the south coast, Lee by Solent. Very nice. I've had plenty of sea air. Feeling good. I'm ready to talk town.
Yes, absolutely. And there's been lots to talk about. As Zach started off there in the chat, we will come to that podcast. But first, let's have a quick catch up on the week. Has anything got our goat this week, guys? What's got your goat this week?
Local media rehashing stories. I think we're going to come to some of that, aren't we? Mick McCarthy rearing his ugly head again. Martin Waghorn. And I'm thinking, do we really want to hear this? I wouldn't say it's a daily basis, but a couple of times a week there's stories popping up and you're thinking, let's talk about this season. Let's not hark back to who we had, what we had. This was great, he was great. I don't want to keep hearing it. It's doing me head in.
Matt, what's got your goat? I mean, I do agree with Rich there. I'm going to be brutally honest. What year are we in? Because this week I've seen McGoldrick, I've seen Waghorn, who my opinion on him is flipped.
What are you on about Lee Martin signing for Ebbsfleet? Who cares?
Lee Martin, I expect.
Yeah,
Nobody else does. But then again, you don't know because they must put this stuff out for a reason, and the reason is quite clear. So somebody must want to read it, otherwise they would stop writing it, right?
It's just like space filler in it. Killer.
Come on, guys. This is the no spin zone. I want more than that. That's not allowed here. Come on. This is the
You don't want to know about Lee Martin going to Ebbsfleet?
Not particularly.
Why's he gone to Ipswich? He was quite good for Exeter against us.
That's one of Ebbsfleet's many signings this summer. But Matt, what's got your goat this week?
I'd argue Lee Martin could still do a job for us, but that's another conversation. What's gone? I'm joking. I'm all the Twitter not get on my case. I'm joking.
That's going to be right across Twitter. That is.
Yeah.
What's Lee Martin now?
That's like saying Flynn Downs was overrated like last week. You got pelted.
Yeah, people got really upset about that, didn't they? They really got upset about it. Oh, well, never mind. It's all talking points. It's called Talking Town for a reason. What's got my goat this week? The kind of ITFC fans on Twitter not understanding defamation laws. Have you not been to journalism school like me? It's not libel, Alan Quinn. It's slander. Libel's the written word. Slander is spoken. So there you go. Just felt like, there's a lot of experts out there and using the wrong terminology. I'm sorry, boys.
You mean it's not I thought it was. I mean, I believed the Twitter train that, they took it down because of that reason. So if it wasn't that reason they took it down.
Slanderous. It'd be slanderous.
Well, if it wasn't that reason why they took it down, why did they take it down for?
Who knows?
No spin zone, chaps. That's the second warning. Third warning, you're off.
Well,
I'll get somebody else on.
Showing a red card. I mean, I mean, I found the interview incredibly entertaining, I have to say. And I've always said, like, the EADT's been a little bit beige in recent weeks. But this was, I mean, I put it on Twitter myself, absolute flames. It was fantastic. But I suppose there was elements of it that didn't reflect well on some individuals, i.e. Chambers and Lambert. We're going to get into that in a minute, aren't we? But
certainly are.
I don't know. I mean, I'm from a comms background, so I would, if I was a comms person listening to that, I probably would have been a bit upset. But I would say there was nothing in there that's going to, would go to court or anything. Calling someone arrogant, Mourinho gets that all the time in the media.
It's true. That there, Marcus Evans.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
love that.
We'll get to it very shortly. What's got my goat this week? Twitter Pep Guardiola's has got my goat this week. Now, not a term I came up with, I have to be honest. A guest on the podcast, special guest on the podcast, I won't say the name, came up with that phrase. People who think they know the ins and the outs of the game of football, they know everything about the football, and really, in reality, they don't. They claim to, but they do not. They are bluffing it until they make it, fake it until you make it, the famous saying. I'm not going to say any names, but the old story over the weekend reared its ugly head. Players not knowing where they're supposed to be playing, not knowing shape until the day of the game, or in some cases, the day before the game, or what have you. And we had Alan Lee on the podcast not long ago, to be fair, back in of last year. And he had this to say, very quick clip.
I'm probably quite sure Paul Lambert would rather play the 17, but is being dealt the cards. That means he's got a load of pros. There might be an argument that there's people aren't really jumping out and saying, right, I am the best player in this position, and I'm going to, I haven't seen enough games to see that, see if that's true.
There's a lot of that, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, we said that on the podcast.
I think there's only 2 or 3 that have really nailed their place down. The rest are
footballers. Listen, I think where a lot of people have a misconception about the reality of what's like out there. If you have to do some work on a Tuesday for you to play in the quiet shape and play a game of football, there is something seriously wrong with you as a footballer.
Okay.
If you're playing a normal game and you've a good team, the most important thing.
And he goes on. So when I'm seeing people on Twitter saying they don't know the team until hours before, like it's the dog and duck, they don't know where they're playing. And an international player was mentioned, a 30-year-old international player, Alan Judge, I'll say the name, was mentioned as not knowing where he should be in a formation. That goes against what an ex-pro like Alan Lee, who's played the game at the highest level, spoke to us and told us about back on the podcast. If Alan Judge does not know where he's playing at his age, he shouldn't be on a pitch, and he wouldn't have made it this far in his career. The same for John Nolan, as much as people may or may not like John Nolan. So to see Twitter Pep Guardiola's again trying to bring that narrative back, there's many sticks to hit Lambert with. I don't think that's one. I don't think blaming shape training is a reason. Maybe Judge and Jackson.
We're not playing under 9s football here, are we?
Exactly. Maybe Jackson and Judge don't go together. Maybe that they just don't have the chemistry. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But there's that old tried and tired argument coming out again, and that's just what got my goat. And sometimes you've got to bite your tongue and move on. Other times you can use your podcast. But it's your podcast. So we'll jump to Zachary. Zach. I keep saying Zachary. I do apologize. I've got a nephew called Zachary. Interesting to see the Quinn podcast taken down by the EADT. Had to be worried about your defamation laws there, Matt. But it was obviously a comment. Thought Chambers' comments were wide of the mark. Shall we say the Chambers' comments for those listening and watching at home?
Go for it.
Who wants to go with that? Who wants to go with that? Just in case it is,
Go on, Matt. Do your best Irish accent.
Go on, Matt.
What do you want me to? Sorry, what do you want me to do?
You can say what it was.
It's dirt. The fraudster. That
So
guy.
basically,
I tell you what, when I was just listening to Alan Lee there, I was just thinking to myself, I'd like him to be my sat-nav voice in the car. Just thinking driving back from Southampton today.
silky voice.
Wonderful
It is,
voice.
it is a
Love
beautiful
it.
voice. It
Yeah.
is.
Fantastic.
It is.
But yeah, back to Chambers. Fraudster.
Has he got a 10-year contract? Kissing the badge and pumping his fist. I think that was it. Well, wasn't it? I watched him. He said he watched him when his brother played, didn't he? For was it Reading?
I'm trying to think back to when that was. Was that maybe when we got done 5-1 on that Friday night down there? Do you remember that?
Yes.
In the was we in All Orange or something?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Cole Skuse and Dean Gherkin had the famous "No to you, no you, no you, no you, no. Honestly, you first." Oh, okay.
That game was it? Yeah. We shifted 5 a couple of times down there. I think that's the one I can only. That's the only one I can think of that it could have been he was referring to. Yeah.
So I'll say it for those that don't know. Alan Quinn effectively said, the captain Chambers, how is he still there? The last time I watched him, he was giving away fouls, getting cards. He was dirt. Those were his words, not mine. And what's he actually do? Kiss the shirt, fist pump the crowd. What does he do? He's Jermaine Chambers. That's his name, right? Jermaine Chambers. He is not great. Those were his words. Those were his words. But why was it taken down? That's what I want to. What was in it that was so bad? Surely the paper could just say, "Hey, these aren't our views. These are the views of Alan Quinn, but we have to represent them because that's what he said." Or does it show a wider thing in play here? Are we being filtered what we're told? Is the black hole? We all guess the black hole is part of a PR. We all guess these things are all part of a bigger thing. But was that the unlifting of the actual reality? Actually, yes, it's all filtered. It's all orchestrated.
I mean, they've done a lot of podcasts, haven't they, the guys at Kings of Anglia? I don't think anything's been as hard hitting as that. But you know, I can only think the comments around Lambert, which we'll get to in a minute. I can only think that's the thing they would have had umbrage with, given that what we've said previously, when we look back at February and March, when the crowd were turning on Lambert a bit and we didn't have good form, maybe they're thinking that might ignite it a little bit more. Be it, you know, even though we can't go in the stadium at the moment, that might ignite it a little bit more online or wherever it might be. But, you know, like I say, I come from a comms background. I didn't see anything there that would have said to me, this has got to come down, other than the Lambert bit. You would have just been a bit pissed off by what was said on there, I suppose.
I mean, surely someone's listening to that before it goes out. They know what's in it, so they know it's going to cause a little bit of a ripple. You'd have thought on Twitter. Most people have heard it anyway, haven't they, by now?
Well, maybe they haven't. I mean, it got taken down pretty quick, didn't it? I don't think it was up for very long. I think it was gone by Saturday. It went up, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning? It was gone by Saturday evening, I think.
Yeah, it was gone very quickly.
I only would have heard it because Rich sent it to me and said, have a listen to this. But I mean, I thought it was great. They went from beige content to flames. It was very entertaining. A lot of people took it very seriously. I mean, who even knew Alan Quinn when he was a player? He seemed quite a quiet player to me. Who knew he would rival Roy Keane with big opinions? I had no idea he was that kind of character. But apparently he's got 10 brothers or something, so maybe you have to speak a little bit louder in that family scenario. I don't know, but to make yourself heard. He certainly made himself heard to Suffolk and the wider area. That's for certain.
Yeah,
Look,
absolutely.
He said he doesn't watch many games though, and then he's hammering the captain. So
yeah, there was a lot of contradictions, wasn't it? Even with the Lambert comment, he goes, "Well, yeah, I don't know him. I've never met him."
We've all got our opinions on the manager. We've all got our opinions on Chambers, you know. I thought it was probably a little bit harsh calling him a fraudster, you know. He's a professional
He's a con man.
He's a professional footballer who played 700 games. So you might not think he's the best player ever, but calling someone a fraudster a little bit. I've done a poll on my Twitter Saturday night. Is Luke Chambers an Ipswich Town legend? And then 44% said yes.
I think I said no to that, actually. I was in the no category. I do know people that watch a lot of Premier League football and have dipped in and out watching Ipswich, and they've said to me that Chambers is useless, is what they've said to me.
Yeah,
that's just I do think, like, because we see these players week in, week out, we probably do think they're better than they really are. We did finish 11th in League One. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, but in some cases that can work the opposite. We do get into a mindset of they are worse than what they are. We see limited stuff, don't like them. I mean, one of the famous ones obviously is Damien Delaney. Many fans didn't like Delaney, but he left and has gone on to play Premier League football at a good level, consistent level. No, maybe the way he left the club is a bit questionable. I think he told Paul Joy, if I remember rightly, he was going to go to Canada and then suddenly ended up in Crystal Palace. I mean, you have got a place in London called Canada Water, I suppose, or whatever it's called, but close. But, those are question marks. But we do tend to give players a limited chance. And I think it's a great time there, actually, just to bring on. We've got a fan on the show. We've got somebody who has taken the offer up, taken the mantle. He's asked for the link and he has got the link, and Luke Pennington is on here. I will just remove Rich because that's always fun to do. Luke, thank you for joining us. So thank you for asking for the link. Guys in the chat, you can do the same. That's a good time to bring you in. Luke Chambers, legend or not?
All right, Luke, how you doing? You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm good.
Top man.
You all right? I wouldn't call him a legend by any stretch of the imagination. At the end of the day, when you think of a legend, you think of someone that's won something with the club. Chambers hasn't. I saw this debated on Kings of Anglia a couple of months ago, and I think he fell more into the icon category than the legend. So I think that might be something that he is, but I wouldn't necessarily not say that Luke Chambers is a legend by any stretch.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, look, to say Chambers is a legend is to kind of dilute the achievements of the 78 team or the 81 team.
Yeah.
He's just a passionate player. We know he goes above and beyond behind the scenes by all accounts. We've said previously on the pod, he houses some of the scholars in an annex of his house, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I don't know how many captains would do that at other clubs. So I think that's brilliant. But no, he's not a legend. He's just a passionate player about the club. And we do need passionate players in the club.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. We do need that. What do you reckon, Rich? You did your poll, didn't you?
Well, it was interesting when saying he's passionate, and then I think someone had tweeted about we haven't got many leaders, and that is hit the nail right on the head there, isn't it? Really, Luke Chambers. What other people have we got in the squad who's a leader?
Yeah,
Downs, maybe. Possibly.
I'd imagine, Downs. I would imagine Cole Skews is more of a quiet leader. I think probably maybe his presence around the training ground or in the dressing room or mentoring youngsters probably he's seen as kind of a gentleman, isn't he? Excuse me. So I think maybe he's more of a quiet leader.
Absolutely. So Luke, while we've got you, we're talking about players perhaps not having a fair crack at Portman Road, or some players we see every week so we know what they're like. Chambers being a centre half. I wrote about this morning there's 3 centre halves that we could bring in. You put a fantastic video out on YouTube, which I would urge everybody to go and check it out. Based around centre halves. If we were going to go and get a centre half, let's first look at the free agent market.
Yeah.
Is there one that stands out? I know Charlie Good's on the way to a championship club. I mean, so who'd stand out for you, Luke?
It's terrible news.
Well, that's the thing, though. There is a bunch of free agents, but are we going to be one of those clubs that hold out for maybe someone that we're going to pay money for, and then later down the line get someone on a free? Because at the end of the day, a lot of clubs, not just us, will be wanting free agent signings like we did last summer with John Guthrie and James Wilson, for example. So I think even though there's a lot of free agents, I wouldn't necessarily go for all of them. In my video that I did, I mentioned Christian Pearce, Rod McDonald, 2 players. One formerly used to play for Coventry, was released by Wimbledon, and the other most recently released by Mansfield Town. From the outset, people may be a bit confused about that because one of them's a League 2 player and the other one's released by a relatively low-positioned League 1 club. But if you actually look at it, like I got Instat recently, which is what a lot of scouts use and that sort of thing. What I kind of used to compare these players was the stats of people like Chambers, people like Wolfenden and Wilson that were playing the most of the games in centre-back positions this season. And a lot of the players that I chose in the videos, their air challenges, their tackles, them kind of things were miles above people like Chambers. Personally, I'd go for someone like Christian Pearce, who's 30, or Ben Hennigan. He's got interest from Preston, which is obviously, if a championship club comes in for a player like him, Ipswich in League 1 aren't necessarily be able to compete with the kind of style of wages. I think Martin was saying this a while back, while we wait and twiddling our thumbs when other clubs are making changes, bringing people in. If the club have spent so long making targets, you've had the pandemic as well, which has also made more time to think about these things. it would be better for the club, we feel, if it maybe go and spend more money or time doing the target straight away rather than waiting too long and then missing the person. We had this last summer with I think we wanted Tom Elliott originally from Millwall, which was part of the Bart, switcheroo.
The striker. Yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah, he's at Salford now, but at that point, the plan was to bring him in and then loan Bart out, I think, and then sell him or
they made a good signing today, Salford. They signed Ian Henderson.
Ian Henderson.
Yeah, would have been a good signing for us. I think
I think he's 35, but I think his goal ratio in the last 5-6 seasons has been, I think, over 10 goals at least each season. But yeah, going back to what you kind of said, I think we do lack leaders. Someone on Twitter was wasn't a fan of having Luke Chambers dropped, but if you think of it, he's coming on 35 this year.
He's not going to play every game, is it?
No,
he's not going to play every game in this campaign.
I use this comparison to John Messina, who plays for Oxford. He's their main captain. They got in the playoffs this season, and he plays that position where he comes off the bench in games, maybe starts a couple. I think he only played about 20 games this season for them, and I think Chambers and Scouse are going to be those kind of players. You're looking to the people like Wolfenden. I really struggle, especially with the centre backs at Ipswich. We definitely have a lack of depth. Other than Wolfenden, who else is there that is up and coming?
And you've got James Wilson, but you're not going to really rely on them two for if you're looking to get out of that league. They're not. You've got to look to sign. I'd say someone like Sean Raggett. I like him.
Yeah,
a decent season at Portsmouth.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. He's relatively tall as well, and I think that's something that we lack. Like the other day, I was analysing how tall our centre backs are, and the average is 6'1" if you add them up together. That kind of adds a lot to us as a team, not really scoring that much from set pieces. I think the only set pieces goals we scored this season was Chambers away at Peterborough and Wolfenden at home to Lincoln, I think. Other than that, there's not really something. I think we lost it from when we got rid of Berra and people like Tommy Smith. So someone like Raggett, whether that be, or Harry Sutar, I've seen put around as a potential loan. Someone in that mould, as well as kind of thinking of Charlie Good. Sadly, he's linked with QPR and Middlesbrough. Apparently,
you flagged him up with me, didn't you? Say, watch out for him in this final.
Yeah,
he was good, man. He had presence about him, didn't he?
He was released by Scunthorpe, I think, when Paul Hurst was in charge. Kind of says a lot about when he, knows what a player is. Clearly, doesn't with Vincent Young and that sort of thing. But he's 6'5". He's 24. He's 10 years younger than Chambers. I thought was naturally an heir to him. When you look at him, you think he's this gangly, lanky guy. He's actually very comfortable in the ball. He likes to dribble. I watched the playoffs when they played against Cheltenham, I think. And the 80th minute of the game, he was just sprinting up, like probably where a right back would normally be, to kind of get the team off the pitch and long balls up forward to get the strikers in for their goal, sort of thing. But he would have been good. But I do think that the club need to kind of press some of these things early. I understand that maybe they're waiting around just to see, if maybe another club comes in and how much they're going to offer.
It's funny you should mention Christian Pearce, because when I think back to when I worked at the FA, going back to 2007, when I worked with the England under-19 team, he was in that team. He had such a presence around the dinner table that he was called the Chief. He's like a huge kid. He was a huge kid. He was only 18. But he was that team had some players that have gone on to do really well. Played in the Premier League. I remember Andy Carroll was in that team. Ryan Bertrand was in that team. So he came through at a good age group. So even though he was at Mansfield last season, he's still been around, players that have gone to the top level.
Sorry to close Luke there, but some great points he raised.
Really good. Good stuff, Luke.
Matt, our friend Matt, he's found us. It was 8 p.m, Matt, as you're questioning. Wilson, criminally underrated, and have we written off Enciala and Corey?
Yes. We've written off Enciala. I wrote off Enciala when he made his debut.
It's harsh.
We talked about Ndaba the other week, didn't we? And he was highly rated, and he was going to make his debut a couple of seasons back, and he's just fell off the radar, isn't he?
Sadly so. I mean, I've not written off Enciala. I think if a player you spend money on, you've got to persist with, and that feeds what we were saying a second ago, doesn't it? Have we written a player off too early again?
I don't. I got accused of being too negative the other week, but he's too unpredictable. He's too unpredictable.
Okay. All right. So
Give me Jason DeVos. Give me the beat. Give me David Linnigan.
We need somebody.
That's you, Rich.
I was going to say to you about David Linnigan. I think he helped when he played. It's a little bit with Chambers has got Wolfenden, so you'd think he'd be able to pass on his experience. When there you go, David Linnigan had John Walk, if you remember, beside him, and he used to talk him through the games. So you'd hope that Chambers could sort of use his experience to talk Wolfenden.
100%. That's a good point. Yeah, Neil Mole's in the house.
We need to sign. If we're going for a centre half, I think we need to sign someone like Martin said before. We need a bit of long-term thinking here. Let's not go short-term and sign someone just for a season. We need to sign someone at a good age. Where look, Chambers this is probably going to be his last season. If we go up, there's no way he could play in the Championship. So we need to be getting somebody in who we can. He can play 4 or 5 years. When I hear the paper bringing Tommy Smith up, and I'm thinking, no, why is it every time when they write a piece, they always have to throw a name of an old player in there?
He was good enough for Sunderland, though. He was good enough for Sunderland to take a punt. Yeah. Well, that wasn't his fault, was it? But I think he was a sub, wasn't he? But he might have played. Who knows?
Matt, we get too carried away with players that we had in the past who were good players, and we live in a dream world.
We do. But give me Tommy. But give me Tommy over NCR any day of the week, right?
Well, okay. So we now come to we're about 27 minutes in. We'll close the first half an hour off with our friends Waghorn and McCarthy. Are we right to still give them airtime? Are we still right to give Waghorn and McCarthy airtime?
Well, McCarthy keeps giving Ipswich airtime when he was Ireland manager, didn't he? He kept mentioning us in press conferences. So you can only think how he left actually really did rankle, didn't it? Because he keeps harking back to this hounded out at Brentford at Griffin Park. But he was having a bit of a love-in with McGoldrick, wasn't he? This week, which I tweeted was nauseating because he allowed. I see their relationship as like a father and son thing. He allowed like McGoldrick to do this 3-hour commute, which was, from his family home in wherever that was, up north somewhere, or Midlands. And that is why he was always injured. That is the reason why. Now he doesn't have that community. Now he doesn't have this community at Sheffield United. Lo and behold, you've got a brand new player scoring a shed load of goals from in the Championship, gone promoted, and he's doing well from in the Premier League. It means a fair play to him. But McCarthy should have taken the keen stance, which was you must live within an hour of the training ground. Yeah, which people like Kevin Lisby got the ump with, and that's why they got hightailed out there. I agree with Keeler. That 3-hour commute's ridiculous, and McCarthy allowed that. And it allowed McGoldrick to go into a comfort zone. Because his first season, 2013, whatever, 14 goals. If you look at his goals tattled off, and he goes back to this no pressure to win, was there? I think he scored 6, then 5, then 4. Colin Quayle had a better return than McGoldrick in his few months he had at Town.
You're a brave man.
You are a brave. 4 goals, 4 assists, 16 games. That's the kind of return we want.
You are a brave man.
Get the German giant back in a blue.
Last week you said Flynn Downs was overrated.
You can mute him. I'd mute him for that.
This week,
get Colin Quayle back. I'm not having that.
David McGoldrick. You're mad, man.
I'm not saying I'd take him over McGoldrick. What I'm saying is his stats were better than McGoldrick's. Yeah, we still, going back to my earlier point, we look at these players we put on a pedestal, and I loved McGoldrick. I thought he was great. Those 14 goals he scored for us, I don't think it was a better striker outside the box, in and around the box. Okay. Fantastic shot on him. But Quayle's stats leveled up with McGoldrick's as his Town career finished.
Okay, we've got some guests hopefully coming on very soon. We had 2 people in the chat ask for the link. Remember, guys, if you do want to get in on the show and shut one of us up, one of them 2, one of me, doesn't really matter. Alistair Rattray on Twitter says, Neil, your shirt is on fire. It's a brilliant one. I love it. I added that last bit in. I'm sure that's what he meant with fire. Has your opinion of Waghorn changed? My opinion of Waghorn has changed. I have to be honest.
The rat, Martin. I loved it. Oh, I loved it. I wanted to live here. I've moved here. I've moved my family. Your agent said, get 15 goals, I'll get you a move. And then couldn't get out quick enough, could it? Yeah. And I understand. I understand football's a short career. Obviously, he's going to earn more money there. But don't contradict yourself by saying how much you loved it, but then Frank's come calling, and everyone wants to play for Frank, and
Couldn't get out quick
I'm not
enough,
having
could
it. I'm not interested. He played 1 season for us. Let's get some stories out there about the 81 team. I'd rather be hearing stuff about that, not about people who played for 1 season, scored 15 goals, and then naffed off to Derby.
Yeah,
He's
but to be fair to the
Martin
lad,
Waghorn. He's a nobody. He's a nobody.
He did have a good
Waghorn.
season, though, didn't he? He had a great
and
season.
to be fair to the lads at the paper, you know, I mean, all their he is on a podcast they're getting the story from. So it's like us having, you know, somebody on right now saying something like that, and it is relevant. I get that, so I don't really blame them for this. You know, I'd rather this than Lee Martin. Lee Martin left, you know, way before. Let's be honest. Nick Muller makes a fantastic point. Maybe players should have to live near their clubs. Put it in their contract.
Agreed.
I mean, we are talking people who are paid an obscene amount of money. It's not. Is it too much to ask somebody paid 50, 60 grand a year to move? Is it too much to ask? Do you think, guys?
No, not at all. Football's used to moving around. You get a loan deal, you have to go and move, and you know we know a lot. Like Alan Quinn said, he just stayed in that town accommodation flats down by the docks. So all clubs have that kind of setup. It's not a big deal.
We are over the halfway mark. So, well, over the half an hour mark. I wouldn't say halfway. Should we have a quick drinks? Cool. What are we drinking this evening, guys? I have got the beautiful Adnams. It was beautiful. It's nearly gone. It's a lovely drop. You've got the San Miguel. That's not a Dutch drink. You've got 2 San Miguels.
There's no lemonade in it, Steve, wherever he is. Not lemonade tonight.
He did you last week with that one. And what is it a Shiraz this evening, Matthew?
I was drinking some very nice red Italian wine in Southampton, but I'm back on the Birra Moretti again.
Beautiful.
Italian favourite at the moment.
Quick shout out to
Hello.
yeah, come today.
Mine hasn't come. I ordered mine before you. Mine hasn't got here.
Which is always
a couple
early.
of stickers as well, Matt. A couple of stickers as well in there. So
I've ordered a
action,
shirt
guys.
as well. I'm supporting them. I've ordered a shirt, one of their Ebenezer shirts. Maybe I'll wear it next week.
Okay, right. So we have a fan with us, an Ipswich Town fan that is not a fan of you two or me. We have Josh. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking up the offer of coming onto your platform and telling us your thoughts. I love the shirt. One of my favourite Town shirts was that
well,
one.
I see. It's the 11th. Unfortunately, the 11th place shirt. But what can you do about it?
It's not your fault.
Oh, no, it's not your fault. You didn't play.
Yeah. All right, Josh, how you doing?
Yeah, what have you heard tonight? What you go?
I just wanted to kind of bring up the free agent market. You know how, because there's quite a few players you see online that we're linked with. You know, I've got a list of some of the Reading players. I don't know if you heard. You know, there's people like.
Give it to Arch.
Would you have someone like Charlie Adam?
No, too old.
Charlie Adam. Did you see the size of his backside when he came on in that Stoke game when we got relegated?
I think I was at that game. Also, there was Jordan Abita. He's a D. I thought he's been. He's a legend, not a legend, but a decent player for them.
It's a name that's been around, isn't it?
On that list.
He is, yeah. He's a free agent as well.
Yeah, I've seen that float around. Good pedigree, came from Man United.
Did he come to a League One team? No.
Maybe kickstart his career a little bit. I mean, look, he dropped out from Man United to Reading, didn't he? So maybe he'd come down to us. I mean, look, we're still going to be a big fish next season. We're going to be doing the South End next season, aren't we?
It's so embedded in Ipswich Town football fans' brains that we're just sinking, like slowly sinking and sinking down.
Nonsense, absolute nonsense.
We're not having that. Me and Matt are not having that, are we? We've got 3 stars on our shirt. We're not.
People like
negativity. No, we don't. Why should we settle for? Oh, we're 11th in League One. We're crap. We're better than that. Yeah. We are better than that.
Yeah, I think it might have been a podcast or two ago. You guys were talking about how Peterborough signed. Was it Tony? Ivan Tony?
Yeah.
I don't know how we can't compete for players like that. I don't know. Every other club seems to be able to get this talent and they work, but we just sign people like Will Keane.
Yeah, it's interesting. We seem to sort of. Yeah, I don't know why. We just don't know if we're competing with them or not. I wish the club would tell us, but yeah, I mean, look, we're big fans of Darren McAntony on this show. I'd imagine he sells Peterborough really well. He's got his side man in Barry Fry, who's passion personified, 1,000%. So I think if you're faced by those two and you're a player, I think you sign on the dotted line. They really sell Peterborough, and that's why I think they get good players in. And I think the scouting's superb as well, as we've said previously.
There you go.
Yeah, but they've constantly brought players, loads and loads of players through, haven't they? Just constantly churning them out. Like they're like a Southampton in the League One, aren't they? Really, they're just constantly churning out talent after talent and making loads and loads of money off it.
Yeah, I just took Matt out there because that's a very good point by Steve, and I think I've got two different opinions here. I think if you can obviously see the comment there, Josh. League position doesn't lie. Do you agree with that, or having listened to the boys, do you? Yeah, well,
take no notice of him.
He'll know all about league
finish,
positions and not lying.
Where did you finish?
Where do you two sit on that? League position doesn't lie.
It doesn't lie. Go on, Josh.
Realistically, if you're a player, you want to. This might just be my mentality, but you want to play in front of the bigger, better crowds and the more history. That's what I would have personally thought. Not something that hasn't really actually achieved anything in their history. I don't really get it, to be honest. I don't know what your opinion is on it.
Yeah, we did finish 11th, but like I just said, why should we settle for being mediocre? It's all about, I think a few comments ago I think Matt said, it's about showing ambition. Now, whoever we're going to sign this summer, we need to show ambition. What we don't need is to sign another goalkeeper. I just want to touch on that because that's a wasted signing for me. Money's going to be limited. We don't need another reserve goalie because we've got two young keepers there. You don't want you want them to progress. You don't want their route to the first team to be blocked because why? Otherwise, why are they at the club? What's the point of having them? If you're going to sign a journeyman or look, Remy Matthews, good goalkeeper. Spin it round another way. Does that say that Paul Lambert doesn't rate Holy?
Well, we've said this before. I don't think Holy's supposed to be the number one keeper, which is why I think he's 50-50 about it.
There is one thing about Holy that I did notice a lot last year, and you guys might notice it as well. He can see, I know it's quite obvious, but he does see quite a lot of shots that are in the bottom half of the goal. And it's that is one thing I really like about his game. He obviously is 6'9" or whatever it is. But
look at, I think it was it Fleetwood who scored? One of the goals, he's left a massive gap, and you're thinking,
yeah,
look, we spoke about him. He loves the fans. He's great on social media. I want a goalkeeper who keeps the ball out of the net. I don't care if they're a bit of a twat. It doesn't bother me. We don't care. You can be the best bloke in the world. I don't really give a toss. Keep the ball out of the net. Do the talking on the pitch.
It's true. Yeah.
I think Holy's played more games than that, Remy Matthews, isn't he? But I don't know. You thought Remy Matthews was better, didn't you, Rich, when we were chatting?
He is.
Look, he's a decent goalkeeper, No,
he is a good goalkeeper, and and I really appreciate Josh's thoughts.
Yeah, nice one, Josh.
And he may return before the night is over because we're about to move on to the striker review. So he may want to stay in the blue room. He may not want to stay in the blue room. He may want to come back. It's entirely up to Josh.
Rename the blue room today.
Adam Flatt's comment there
anymore.
Adam's Flatt's comment there is very, very apt, I believe. Mediocrity is running through the club. Comes from the top. And then we've got another comment here from Matt. Get a settled team. Know who the best 11 are. Very, very good points. And now we've got to come on to our striker review, okay? And Josh has gone from the blue room. He's obviously found the escape hatch. Can't blame him when it comes to this absolute shower at times. But there we go. So the strikers review: Norwood, Jackson, Sears, Falami, and Morris. So we'll start with the top goal scorer, shall we? Caden Jackson, because that should be a nice easy one, right? Green is stay. Amber is you're not sure, and well, it's a green all over. Green peppers all over.
Ball, isn't it?
Greener than a pepper tree.
It depends what formation where are we playing him next season if we play 4-3-3? Because obviously last season gone, he wanted to play Norwood up front, didn't he? In 4-3-3, and I think Jackson had a good pre-season, and we changed on that, didn't we? Went 4-4-2. So where is he going to play this season, if he goes 4-3-3, is he going to be one of the wide strikers?
Well, that's where he was supposed to be last year. Before he hit a small vein of form, he was supposed to be a wide left player. The issue I've got with that formation, Rich, is if you've got Jackson left, Norwood central, and you're still bringing in a striker, who's dropping out? Lancaster, Edwards?
No, he's playing. Lancaster's playing. Lancaster's playing for me on the right.
For you, he is. But is he for Paul Lambert?
Yeah. That's a bit more difficult to predict.
They'll beat the drum about playing the youngsters. So there you go. There's your perfect opportunity to get him nailed on.
But there is the list of strikers at the club at the moment. Do you go along with the argument that we need an additional striker?
100%.
Really?
100%. Didn't score enough goals last season in League One. Didn't score enough, did we?
Goals.
And now we've lost numbers because Keane's out the door for the moment. But I mean, I thought Jackson was superb. I think his season kind of went under the radar a little bit.
I don't agree with that, Matt Wingard. Jackson is not good enough. He was our best player last season.
He had 11 goals, 7 assists, I think.
Yeah.
I think people were so taken with Flynn downs, understandably so. But I think Jackson scored a lot of crucial goals for us. That one at Tranmere, the winner at Tranmere being one of them. Who knows where we might have finished without those goals if Jackson had been there. And I'll be honest, when we signed him, I didn't think he was worth the money. And I didn't really like his background. He'd been signed for, was it Swindon on Facebook? Ipswich now shelling out a lot of money for players that have been signed off social media. We've had Paul Mariner and the like. I don't know, that annoyed me a little bit. But he had showed good touches in the Championship. Remember the header at home against Brentford? That was a really good goal, I thought. I was really impressed with him last season.
So James Norwood, Matt touches on there. A fit one will get 20 goals a season. Green, amber, red.
Yeah, green for Norwood.
I'm keen to move on.
Yes.
Yeah, he's still Buffon. He's still rocking the wet bandits, look, isn't he? What I would say about Norwood, what annoys me about him is he needs a lot of chances to score. I know there's been incidents where I think it was Accrington where he scored that lovely little chip over the keeper. But if you look a bit earlier in the season, he needed a lot of chances to score. And I think we need to eliminate that. We need to be a little bit more clinical to get games over the line quicker.
Yeah.
I think if he's fit, I agree with him. He'll get 20 goals. If he's fit and plays all season, he'll get 20 goals. I'm pretty sure he would. Yeah,
okay. I think so as well.
You say there's a need to bring in an additional striker, which I'm very keen to explore because Jackson and Norwood, if they're your front two, let's say we're going to go with a traditional two-man strike partnership. With Sears, Falami, Morris and Simpson still to come into the team, where does a new striker coming in, such as Clark Harris, leave someone like either Freddie Sears or Ben Morris?
Do you want to go into Freddie Sears now?
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to go to Freddie.
Do it. Freddie Sears.
Freddie, sorry, mate. It's gone red.
Sorry.
Red across the board.
He's green from me.
Is he? For what reason?
What reason? The reason being he's a little bit different to what Jackson and Norwood are. He can play multiple positions and play them fairly well. He is a leftover from the Mick McCarthy era of a 6 out of 10 player, your typical J-Tab type player where it doesn't matter what sort of things are happening elsewhere in his life, he's always going to turn up 110%, 6 out of 10, and you need those in your team. And Freddie is also a different sort of striker to Jackson and Norwood. He is last man, but he can also put it about a bit. He's not saying, pump balls up in the air to him, but he can hurry a defender into a mistake, something we didn't see a lot of last year. I think off the bench, 20 minutes, Freddie Sears is your ideal candidate. I really do. Give me someone like Harry Suter, for example, great defender, but give me Freddie Sears, a fully fit Freddie Sears on him the whole 90, big tall lad like him. I don't know. It'll worry him.
I think like Freddie.
You just said fully fit though. He's had a very serious knee injury. So how's he going to come back from that?
He's a very good finisher. Those goals.
I think wide areas you've got players who can Dobra. You've got Lancaster, Edwards. I think we need another left-sided. I wouldn't be playing Freddie out there. I wouldn't. And I think we need a different type of striker. I think his time at the club, When did he come in? 2015. He's been here 5 years now, and he's part of the. He's left over for like with the Chambers and his Scouse, and I think you need to move on from that. If we really want to be getting out of this league, and then to get to the Championship, would he? Look, maybe we're looking a bit too far ahead. We've got to get out of this league first, but I'll be looking for someone else. So thanks very much, Freddie. He's a lovely guy. I've met him many times. Met him on the honeymoon at the airport. And he had a lot of time. I had a chat with him. Great bloke, but I think no. Sorry.
He's a real instinctive finisher, isn't he? You just look back to those goals. He got those 2 goals in that 3-2 loss to Bristol City. They were fantastic finishes. They were really good. But I do think he's a victim of McCarthy playing him all over the shop. And he kind of maybe lost his confidence. And he didn't score for 40 games or something? I'm sure someone could tell me. Yeah. I mean, it's just that's Frank Newball levels of terribleness.
Ben Falami, guys.
Falami, I've not seen enough of him, to be honest with you.
Not seen enough.
So,
impressed at Palace a couple of years ago. Surely, this is what I mean about.
I'll have to go. I'll have to go amber with him. I mean, I know he's doing Australia under 23s or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She's no great shape
as well. As did Morris. Ben Morris
when he were on loan. See both of them. You got Falami, Ben Morris went out on loan. I think Falami went to Stevenage. Ben Morris went to Forest Green Rovers, and they hardly played. Didn't play a lot of football, did they?
The Stevenage loan was nonsense, really, because he's gone to a team that's right at the bottom of League Two. I don't know. It didn't seem a good fit.
Sooner or later, you've got these lads. You've got these lads in, Matt. You know, how old are they now? 21, 22.
Yeah.
Sooner they've got to show a bit to. Otherwise, you move them on. You know, because
I'm saying amber because I feel like he deserves an opportunity, but I've not in the cameos I've seen. I've not seen anything to think to myself. You know, he's gonna take the place of a Jackson or a Norwood or whoever it might be.
Come on, it was her first game, wasn't it? Ben Morris came on.
Blackburn game.
He come on for 15 minutes.
He did all right, put himself around, didn't he?
He did. But like I said, they're coming to the age now where they probably really need to be playing first team football. Both of them.
Yeah.
You know, 23s football's no good for them.
No.
Are they? Is Lambert really going to have them on the bench?
Something tells me they're not going to make it at Town. I don't know why. I just get that impression.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I hope I'm wrong.
Okay. I'm just looking at Josh's a comment there regarding Johnson Clark Harris. Reports suggest a fee of anywhere between 6 to $1 million is what it will take for Johnson Clark Harris. Can you see Ipswich Town Football Club spending anywhere near that amount of money for a striker in this window?
Did I see today, Martin? He's got a year left and it's basically sign or be sold.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news for us.
Well, yeah.
We go back to ambition. How much ambition has the owner got? If you pay $1 million or 600 to $1 million, and you get someone like him, I'd say, yeah, we're looking at actually doing something. But with us, we drag our feet, and someone else will come in and steal him. You know it'll happen.
Yeah.
Is he just almost?
Yeah, definitely.
Is he like just replacing the character we had in Ellis Harrison, for example, who only lasted, did he have a season with us, Harrison, before he went to Portsmouth?
One season,
Are we kind of re-signing that style of player again? Which we must have sold at a massive loss.
Right on the money. Right on the money, this man.
It's more than £1.
Listen, no, I'm not having that. Evans does have money to spend. We've seen it previously.
Oh, he has money, all right. He just spends it on, other things.
He found $500,000 for Kane Vincent-Young. So I think if Lambert can convince him that this is a guy that we want to spend money on, I do think Evans, even though we've been critical of him, he will open a checkbook. He did it with Kane. He did it with Kane.
He's not spending $1 million, Matt. He's not spending $1 million. We're living in cloud cuckoo land if we think that's.
Well, you've all contributed your money into the club, haven't you? Were you refunding that?
No. Okay, so just to recap: Jackson green, Norwood green, Sears red, Falami and Morris both amber. Tyree Simpson, can he play a role next year
in the National League?
I'm going to give him amber just to give him an opportunity again. But he was thrown, National League. Yeah, he was thrown in the deep end when we had injuries and suspensions and that.
He was playing rugby, Matt, a year ago.
Tyree Simpson's fan club in the background there, Rich. He was a rugby man. Bizarre. Is
I just
that
want
in
to
the
touch
background?
on Ben Moore here. Ben Moore's a big fan, a big friend of the show,
Yep.
friend of the show. Says an order up top. If we go 2 up top, both should be good enough to score with Jackson on the bench to come on with Sears out of puff.
No way
What
having
about
Jackson on the
that?
bench. Oh, do you have Jackson on the bench? He's your top scorer,
I agree with
top
you.
assists.
To be fair to Ben,
Silence.
he did cost me my Port Vale job last night at Football Manager. To be fair, Ben, he's my head of recruitment, and we signed a couple of players, or one player particularly, that weren't too great, Andre Dozel, and it cost me my job. So maybe Ben's not the best person to talk about formation.
You're not putting Freddie over Caden. No chance.
Well,
If he's
Ben
ready
is.
last season.
I want to close on something I saw on Twitter before we came live, and I won't mention who the Twitter account was, but it was a conversation about the best manager over the last 20 years. Okay, and I read something which made me
It's on
panic.
my Twitter.
It
on my
was
Twitter.
that the indoctrination was complete. Apparently, Joe Royle had it easier than Mick McCarthy did with budget restraints. So apparently McCarthy had it harder than Joe Royle. Give me a green, an amber, or a red on that one. No, Matt, that's not the right place to be pulling this.
We're going red for.
Amber.
Joe,
Going amber now.
So the question is, did Joe Royle have it easier than Mick McCarthy? Red is no, green is yes, amber is you can't quite decide. Did Joe Royle have it easier budget-wise than Mick McCarthy?
Went into administration. The team was being sold under him. You know? He spent, how much did Joe Royle spend when he was at the club? He signed Darren Curry, didn't he?
Yeah.
Look, Zach.
He did inherit a bad squad, I agree with
Zach needs to change his picture on there because his hair is nothing like that. See? And he looks about 10 years younger. So anyway, congratulations, he's just had a baby. Well, his missus has. And you won't be looking that young for a... You've only got to look at mine.
Trust me, you won't be. Trust me, you won't be. Trust me, you won't be. Just before we came live, Explosion Centre over here. The baby, that was not me. Baby.
3-0 Brentford.
Oh, it's
Fair
them.
play. It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Mick had,
Not really.
Mick had a good team. When Mick came in, he had a better squad than people think. He had some decent players there. He just needed someone to sort them out because Paul Gill had made a right muddle, hadn't he?
Yeah. Well, look, Joe Royle literally had to sell everything that had value on it. I mean, I remember Tommy Scarzo coming in, hadn't really played many games, had a good couple of games, and then went to West Brom. He had to sell. And then you had Matt Richards at left back, Dan Harding, I believe he brought him in. You had a revolving door at certain positions. Scott, then you had Ian Westlake, who was a good player for Town, went to Leeds, and then kind of, fell off the footballing radar. He made chicken salad out of chicken, what a lot of times. Royal only signed one player for money. That was Gavin Williams, the ever injured but quality Gavin Williams.
What about Darren Curry? Was that a fee?
He was a free. He was a free.
Shefky free?
50,000.
I thought that was a free.
There's another
but we're
one.
still not talking big players.
People, what was Kooky doing? Nothing.
No. He was a Sheffield Wednesday, wasn't he? I do think probably the players that Joe was managed to wheel and deal in, and he was very good at that.
Yeah.
Kind of fitted into this more cavalier style that we had. We've spoken about this before. The 6-4 games, 5-1s. It really was an attack-minded team.
83 goals.
Yeah.
We got 83 goals that season when we come third.
I mean, we probably let in 80. But I mean, McCarthy was able to take the nucleus of what we had, I think, and make it into a hard-to-beat, very conservative style. He was lucky when he came in. He still had DJ Campbell when he came in, which was a great loan from Jewel.
It was a great signing, not by Royal or McCarthy, but still a great signing.
Yeah. So I think it was probably easy for McCarthy to take the players he had and make them into that hard to beat. We're near the bottom, but we were bottom, were we? Were we bottom of the table when he came in?
Yes, we were. But here's my ace in the hole. Okay, here's my ace in the hole.
Go on.
Joe Royle never had a man worth over 700 million as owner, and that's what my original point was: the indoctrination. It's not that Town can't afford it. Back then, we could definitely not afford it. Right, we were just come out of administration, had 2 huge stands still to pay. The debt was 12 million quid, or there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Now is the club choose not to. So McCarthy was working under maybe it was a tighter budget, but it was a self-imposed tighter budget, not a this is literally all we've got.
Yeah,
There's nobody else here.
but
I think Mick played on that. I think Mick played on that. I think he played on that. He liked being the underdog. You know, he was on a decent contract, wasn't he, McCarthy? There wasn't a lot of pressure on him when he was there. We all know we've touched on McGoldrick.
Interviews.
When he's letting one of his players drive 3 hours in the car, you know you're in a bit of a comfort zone. And I think people can have their own opinion. Part of the reason we went down, Mick has to take a lot of responsibility for that. You can't just pile it all on Paul Hurst. We were on the decline for 2 seasons. We got into playoffs. Season after that, I think we finished 8th or 9th. That was only because we won the last 2 games. It was a gradual decline. Look, you can say that the owner didn't back him. Fair enough. But I think, DJ Campbell. But I think Mick, he has to take a lot of responsibility why we got relegated.
Scarred.
Oh,
listen,
God.
what I wanted to say was that Royal actually left Ipswich over budget concerns because he met Sheepshanks at Crewe Railway Station, and Sheepshanks had told him there's not going to be any budget going forward. And that was the reason why they parted ways, and the reason why Jim got the job, because he was prepared to work under those circumstances to get his, to remain at town and get his break in management.
And to close on the Jim Magilton, third goalkeeper being mentioned it very earlier at the top of the show. I tweeted out today, we are obviously Colin Quaynard days away from football, but we under Jim, I believe it was under Jim anyway, maybe under Royal, we had 2 goalkeepers at the club at one point, and the only 2 goalkeepers we had a combined age of 37. Well, one was Shane Supple and one was Lewis Price. The media keep trying to tell us we need a second experienced goalkeeper. Do we?
No.
I'm going to say yes. I don't have a lot of confidence in Holy, as I've said previously. If we have to have him as number 1, so be it. But if we can sign up Remy Matthews to a decent contract, then go for it.
Okay, Remy Matthews to a decent contract, right? Or you've got your money for a striker and the Remy Matthews money, or Luke Garbutt. Because you're going to buy a left winger or a striker, right? So let's say you've got the money for the striker and you use some of that for Remy Matthews. Do you not buy or not sign Remy Matthews and actually go and get Luke Garbutt because you can afford one Luke Garbutt as opposed to 2 players? I
did like the look of what's his name? Pishbeck?
I like Matthews.
What's the kid's name? The Welsh Polish kid. Pishbeck? Have I got that right?
Price
saying that wrong?
Pricebeck,
Pricebeck. Yeah, I like the look of him in that leasing.com. So maybe at a push, if we've got extra budget to go for Garbutt or a striker, then maybe I elevate him up into second place. But I don't know. If we might look back on this and think
goals are going to get you out of this league, Matt. We've got
goals. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Goals win games.
Yeah.
Your goalkeeper.
I don't disagree, but
Holy's good enough. But like I said before, if you sign another keeper, it says to me the manager doesn't rate him. That's the only reason why he'd be signing another keeper.
Yeah, you've made your bed, haven't you? By giving Holy a new contract, you've made your bed.
Yeah.
Holy's here for another year or 2. You've made the bed. He is the guy. Anybody else is going to be a splinter collector. You'd rather have Johnson Clark-Harris, surely, or Luke Garbutt.
Yeah, maybe. When you put it like that,
yes. Out of the budget. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Get the most out.
The point I want to make is Holy would not have this reputation of being a bit of a fan favourite had he let that goal in against Burton, because that was a terrible wreck and it went wide by a millimetre.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
There we go.
I thought you were going with the antics. Don't mention antics. Town fans don't like it. Right. I've learned the hard way. Never ever say an opinion. That's what I've been told. So Emerson Fairweather, to close the show, Emerson Fairweather. I can't contact. Hello.
Look at this.
I think we are.
Big up.
I've got centre back, left back, and a striker from Emerson Fairweather. There he is. And Neil Moles says, "Is Harry Wright good enough?" Well, we'll touch on that next week. We'll hopefully try and get somebody on who can tell us. But yes, hour done, hour closed. Should we bring it to a close there, gents?
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks everyone for tuning in and taking part. It was great chatting town with you all.
Big up to the Terrace Life, Matt. Terrace Life.
Yeah. That's a good mask. I've got mine as well. Yeah, it's a good mask.
Not a paid plug. For those listening from YouTube HQ, not a paid plug. Honestly, guys, thanks for tuning in. Catch you all later. For those on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, We'll see you all next week. Adios.